So we are waiting for the next speakers. So our colleagues are ready. So we have the report by Anna Sabirova, but in general, there are several authors, Nadezhda Feigenson and Nadezhda Vintselovich. Integration of tools of TRIZ in the educational activity, difficulties and perspectives. So everything's ready. So we are greeting you from Belarus. So colleagues, we're very glad to greet you. Anna and me, we are greeting you. So I'm from Moscow, but it's not me, but also Yelena Vintselovich will be presenting it. And also in our co-authorship is Ms. Feigenson. So congratulations with our holiday, with our celebration. So we will talk about integration of trees. So right now we can see a lot of argues on the actuality and efficiency of the processes of education and training. So we can see a lot of chat box of active teachers, pedagogues, so there are some contradictions inside the system. So, and all our society is disturbed by that. So, do we really use it on the spot? So, do we consider the interests of people? So, different researchers tell us that in general, in the world, the results of study is going down. So conventional translation broadcast of the knowledge cannot keep the level of the education. So formation of the proper knowledges is very chaotic, and trial of some traditional methods doesn't achieve the result. And also in the epoch of the new innovations, we have to prepare new generation where those people will become not only witnesses and consumers, but active creators of those innovations, and they will be able to find new solutions for the future. And here I can show you illustration when Peter Kapitsa got into lab of Mr. Resenford. He was a student of the Moscow Technical University, and he decided that he would work in the lab of Rutherford. And after graduation of institution, after he got permission to go to England, when he saw Rutherford, he said no. But Rutherford didn't want to take him into his lab because he had a lot of colleagues. And Kapitsa asked him, how many people work at your lab? And he heard 30. And what kind of a range of error you would allow? He said only 3%. So with this precision of the observation, you won't see another colleague, you won't notice him. So Rutherford was laughing at him, and he got him into his lab, and he was not really regretting about his solution. So that's why our parents and teachers, they dream about such young people, right, who are insistent and sustainable. So psychologists, they look at two kinds of thinking, convergent and divergent. So convergent, it's the ability of looking for the solution on only one correct solution. So the whole system of the education is directed on the convergent direction. So when the person is reading very exact algorithm, so very obvious that there are some contradictive requirements for the educative system. If it's standardized, so then of course it simplifies the process of education. But also we lose individuality from the teaching process, and we lose creative component. But if we have divergent education. So then we have new knowledge, and the process will be more customized, and we can see innovative practices in the flexibility of thinking, self sustainability, and new skills. So that's why we understand that inner content of the lesson could be standardized and at the same time creative and memorable and teachable. So that's
Now,
why
with these practices
students
and
have to get new
on working
cases
on
of
contradictions, using TRIZ
contradictions.
technologies
And
in the
we
educational
think
process
that
can help us
trees will
address
help us to resolve
different contradictions,
those
which will lead
contradictions.
to
So that's why this
this
system is
changes, and we don't want to change those programs or do any perform any other major transformations. So we don't change standards, but we change the approach itself. We can work with the proposed programs, within the proposed programs, using almost all TRIZ tools which we have checked in your own experience in working with our students. There is this creative element, dimension added to that, which improves the model's efficiency, and we identified a number of specific features of these combinations, and using this principle of this cushion which is provided beforehand, we worked on emergency means. Let's try to understand the reasons which might complicate the integration of trees into the educational process. The educational process is regulated by state statutory standards. Whether there is limitations in these standards we have or not, we will come to this question a few sometime later. So these standards, are they in line with current demands in accordance with those Soviet approaches? We already hear, still hear good feedback on that. We see that very often new programs and implementing new programs is not welcome, or otherwise these new approaches can lead to further development of students. And are teachers ready to overcome their psychological inertia? Possibly they lack support from an experienced tutor or mentor. There is another element to this educational process, which is parents. How are they responding to these new innovations? And what kind of changes do they envision in this process? Do they want to stick to the standard, or they select an individual approach? What about modern children? Are they comfortable with current modern educational approaches? Do they need any other approaches or any specific features or tailored individual approaches? In this slide, we see these root causes for the hampering of integration, and we can still build on and continue these chains, but at the same time we need to understand and remember that now we have more resources which we lacked before. We now have the possibilities to use more technologies. We now have online platforms, interactive platforms for delivering teaching materials. They are used to form this unified educational space of parents and teachers where which they can use to communicate. Current educational trends are also impacting the development of education in various countries. We also have artificial intelligence as another tool. So who is creating new technologies? These are people who do that, and of course we still have this neuro-linguistic models that generate content based on the models that they are integrated into these computers. So these are the people who do that, who generate these ideas, and this is what is worth teaching and learning. We can use the potential of new technical systems. For that, we need powerful solvers. Integrating trees in the educational process helps develop non-standard, out-of-the-box thinking, as well as give us the possibilities to see those secret areas in addressing different challenges. What about trees? Trees has been instrumental in understanding different principles of artificial systems, including research-based art and creative ones, as well as social. Any system is striving for a perfect state, and of course we don't know how the theory itself is going to evolve, but we think that these changes have to happen. Our students are integrating their TRIZ methodologies in their teaching technologies, and very often we'll be able to share our first achievements with all of you. This functional and systemic approach of TRIZ is and can be applied in education. This is what we understand. What are the current bottlenecks of the integration? So again, if we can remove these reasons, we can be able to integrate TRIZ more successfully. We have analyzed legislation and we haven't found any contradictions to implementing TRIZ in the educational process. We have studied the federal educational standard of Russia. We also studied the relevant standards in Belarus, which is the overall standard for the Kazakhstan standard. We studied South Korea standards as well as different standards of different regions of United States. Otherwise, we've seen this message in these standards to develop creativity. Using TRIZ tools to develop and implement education programs does not contradict those purposes and tasks set by the education standard of Belarus, the requirements to this overall general education in Russia states that 80% of the mandatory program, mandatory content, and those 20% is something which is delivered by different stakeholders to the educational standard. Of course, we also need to remember the Pareto principle, which is the empirical law, which generally formulates how this 20% of efforts bring 80% of results, while the 80% of other efforts deliver only 20% of the results. So this is the setting which is used to analyze the efficiency of any work, of any efforts, and be able to achieve and understand its results by means of developing and studying that. Further, we can tell you that with those 20% of efforts, we can reach 80% of success. In Kazakhstan standard, we don't have any contradictions either, so TRIZ can be an instrument, can be a tool to work for the delivering of purposes of international of those educational standards. New approaches in education are discussed by managers and they stick to those visible results. This work should involve different students and representatives of education organizations, for them participating in different contests and competitions. Another area is research activities using TRIZ tools in an efficient way. The current schooling focuses on meta subjects. TRIZ educators are working in this area already by means of familiarizing students with technical TRIZ cases as well as discussing business TRIZ cases through education. Doing that, we can achieve efficient solutions which are generated by children and which can be implemented by grown-ups. Kids can generate or design upgrading of objects they understand. For example, playgrounds. Kids understand playgrounds very well. Some playgrounds can have different drawbacks, and they can think of, for example, having an ideal, a perfect playground, how it may look like. So this is just an example. We can teach children for them to grasp knowledge and be able to use it. This year, we will be hosting the Kids Innovative Ideas Championship for the second time, involving kids up to 8 years old and further. We can involve different projects, starting from early projects to more mature projects. And for example, the project of Eco Garden prepared by the kids from Almaty was recognized, and another project from the kids of Krasnoyarsk, from students of Krasnoyarsk, was also recognized. So this is just a festival, and again, we pay attention to any kids' ideas. Within the festival, there were a number of cases presented with their solutions. As a result of the festival, we saw the need to involve more entrepreneurs interested in supporting innovations in the field of education. Educators' work very often becomes routine. As for creative educators, they always find a way to make their lessons more interesting. Our aim as TRIZ representatives to create, to build those creative educators. Our training of trainers is different in using TRIZ achievements, TRIZ approaches based on those achievements of TRIZ globally. Ala Zuzman, Alex Lubomirsky, and Andrei Efimov are the reference specialists for these approaches. Over several dozens of specialists are certified at level 1. Our specialists know how to use the knowledge they acquire and implement, integrate this in their educational activities. This is not related to just subject training. Integrating them further can work for the improvement of methodologies at schools. These TRIZ tools can optimize preparation of lessons, as well as finding new ways of interaction at lessons, presenting materials in a specific and concise manner, as well as this is a way to provide support for teachers, for them not to be afraid of what they're doing and how not their work. So again, for elderly people, it is critical to keep to this trend. In our team, we have both experienced, seasoned teachers and also new early TRIZ educator specialists. So we value ideas of any member, any team members. We work together to develop TRIZ practices. For that, we need the support of our colleagues. The TRIZ Education Club was organized, which is a space which provides both support, methodological support, and also familiarizing colleagues in recent TRIZ developments, as well as studying past lessons, which are very experienced. Developing creative educators is also possible by means of providing this link between teachers and parents and students. What makes a perfect teacher? A perfect teacher always considers kids' interests. So this uh, cross-section, this overlapping of teachers, solvers, and kids. So this is what makes modern teachers close to kids, to students, and of course it's possible to use these TRIZ tools to develop education. Of course, our teachers sometimes face challenges in implementing TRIZ methods in their activities. By the 15th of October, we have we have listed success stories of implementing these ideas, and this is an event I believe that will be instrumental in having and unifying different TRIZ specialists, sharing their ideas and practices to be able to work for educational innovations in different subjects and in
Обучение
specific
детей
subjects.
невозможно без работы с
Learning,
родителями. И
teaching
если
children is
взрослый
not
понимает,
possible without working
зачем
with
мы работаем
parents.
с детьми,
If
то мы как
adults
педагоги
understand
тратим
why we
меньше
work
сил
with
и энергии на
children,
взаимодействие и
if they do
объяснение
that, we
аспектов
invest
нашей
less efforts
работы.
in
А чтобы
interacting with
сделать
kids
нашу
and
работу более
focusing
показательной,
more on
мы
our
провели,
programs to make our
проводим открытые
work more
встречи и даже провели
representative. We
креативный
organize
турнир
open meetings
«Взрослые
and we
против
also
детей».
organize an interactive
Удовольствие от решения задач и
an
выполнения
interactive
упражнений
competition
получили все
involving adults,
участники
grown-ups, and
этого
children.
мероприятия.
And of
Таким
course,
образом,
everyone was
можно
satisfied
увлечь
with
детей,
such an
привлечь их
experience. So
внимание,
how can we
креативность и изобретательность.
involve children? How
Конечно
can
же,
we
нет
engage
цирка
them
за
and
группу. Дети любят
make this
играть.
work more attractive
Настольные
for
игры–
them? Of
это
course, it's
некий
possible
тренд
to
современности,
use
а для нас,
games for
педагогов,
that.
это ресурс.
And tabletop
Так, мир
games is just
Робинзона
an
стал еще
example
одним
of
проектом
this
успешной интеграции
effort. The world
обучения
of
и
Robinson
интеграции
Crusoe
ТРИЗ в
has become
образование.
another
Настольная
project
игра,
in the
разработанная
integration for
нашей
integration,
командой,
working for integration of trees
предназначена для
technologies and
детей,
education.
для
And
знакомства
this is
детей с методом
a
РТВ-метод
game
Робинзона и
used to
развития
present the
ресурсного
RTV
мышления. В процессе игры
Robinson method for
участники
children.
находят
During the game,
нестандартные решения и новые способы
students are
использования
looking for
привычных
out-of-the-box
объектов.
solutions and
Игра условно разделена
the
на три
ways to
части.
address
Одна
different
непосредственно
tasks.
погружает
There
в
are
мир
two parts of the
Робинзона,
game. First one is
а вторая–
something
это
which
карточки,
immerses
которые
them
можно
into the
использовать
world of
для других TRIZ-игр.
Robinson, and the
В
second part
дополнение
is
к
those
основной
cards which you
теме
can use
разработано
for other trees
методическое
games. So
пособие,
besides
в
that,
котором
we
описано
developed
30 игр на все инструменты
a support book which describes different TRIZ approaches. So again, this is something which describes different approaches, and you can use this tabletop games to play at home, at your workplaces. This is the game which is good both for parents and kids. As a prospect, we can develop this further, involving more families and more kids, and we see this demand for education change will root from those aware, responsible kids and children. Who are those kids we are working? We as teachers are working with the homeland generation in the current conditions. We work with this homelanders generation born from 2003 to 2024 periods, and so within this period, so they are grown-up children already at the age of 6 or 7. They need to be treated as adults. They ask questions and they look for argumented, supported, and informative answers. Do they change the education process? Of course they do. They change this, they send this request for education to be changed. So we created this children-to-children program project, which we use to help children understand their individuality, and kids there can try the role of a TRIZ master, of a TRIZ educator. We believe that in future, this self-regulation lesson can be implemented for all kids we have in our community. This is a project working for the development of communication skills as well as other soft skills which are needed for modern children. Artificial intelligence, is it Pandora's box or cornucopia? Artificial intelligence, what is it? Like, we remember this example comparing this artificial intelligence with Pandora's box or cornucopia. What is it? If you know how to use it, of course you can simplify your life by delegating many tasks to this approach. You can operate our AI, and you need to just learn how to send good requests. In a few minutes, the global network can help you draft a lesson scenario using the parameters you integrate. It can create a set of tests, or it can draw many pictures. Gary Halchuler, in his story, Samsung Clinics, is writing that a person of the future should have this principle, this new capability of continuously improving their structures, their constructs. We want to be part of this area. We use different resources, cards from the Robinson game, tabletop game were created by using a ChatGPT. And we also use ChatGPT to create pictures for our presentations. And of course, you will be able possibly to use these artificial intelligence and these tools in your activities. So we also use AI to develop critical thinking. Today, we understand that the technology itself is not perfect, and what we need to do is to test and to check the information generated by AI, which is of course not only relevant to pictures but also text. We drafted a few recommendations for teachers on the use of AI, and in this picture you see the QR code which you can use to access it. If you have successful cases in using neural networks in your educational activities, you will be able to share it with us. At the end of the presentation, we will share our contacts. Gamification of learning is another trend, using interactive boards, digital ones and standard ones, different educational platforms using current technologies, modern technologies can enhance kids' motivation and engagement. Again, businesses can use gamification to engage their employees. Alpha Bank says that many of their employees are taught by alpha bots. And again, we can have this question again about this psychological inertia of educators, teachers, which might also be
Ну что
combined
ж,
with lack of
подытожим.
knowledge.
Поскольку
Now, to recap,
научно-технический прогресс не стоит
this
на месте, а
technical
доступ к информации
progress
все
and
упрощается, то
the access to
система
information is
образования
becoming easier, so
должна
this
непрерывно
educational system, our
модернизироваться.
educational
Мы
system,
видим больше
should be
ресурсов,
continuously
чем сложностей в
improved
интеграции
and
TRIZ в систему
optimized. We
образования.
see
И хочется,
many
чтобы наши
resources,
проекты
and of
получили
course,
как
there are
можно
more resources
больше
than challenges
разного рода
to the
поддержки
integration of
со
trees in
стороны
education. Of course, we
TRIZ-сообщества.
want to have
Интеграция
as
TRIZ
much
в
support from the
образовании
trees community
возможна
as
так, как
possible,
они
integrating
противоречат государственным
this
образовательным
to
стандартам.
the
И более
educational
того, есть
standards
программы,
is important. This
поддерживающие
is not
развитие креативности.
contradicting standards.
Внедрение
We
TRIZ
have
возможно
uh,
через изменение
integrating,
подходов, а не
implementing trees as possible
содержания.
by means of
Это требует
changing
подготовки
approaches,
педагогов
not
и
the content
использования
itself. This
творческих
demands
методов.
the
Для этого
preparation of
созданы курсы для педагогов,
trainers,
подготовлены методические рекомендации,
teachers.
подборка
We
успешных
have
кейсов
created
по интеграции
different
TRIZ в
courses for
образовательные
trees
программы.
and a number of success stories
Интеграция
to
TRIZ в
integrate trees in
образовательный процесс
education.
влияет
Integrating
на
trees in the
повышение
educational process
мотивации
also
учеников,
works
развитие
for higher
навыков
motivation of
критического и
students
системного
and
мышления, а также
developing critical
способности
and
находить
systemic thinking
нестандартные решения.
skills and the
Результаты
possibilities,
достигнуты на
capabilities to
примере проектных работ и
offer out
участия
of
в
the box
олимпиадах и
solutions.
конкурсах.
It also
Мы
works
решили
well
проблему
for
интеграции
the development of
TRIZ-технологий в
kids
образовательный процесс,
to
столкнувшись с
participate in
противоречием
Olympiads
между
and different competitions.
стандартизированным
We now
обучением
have this
и
contradiction
необходимостью развивать креативное
between
мышление.
standard
Наша работа
thinking and
доказывает, что
creative
внедрение
thinking. Our
инструментов
work,
TRIZ
our
может не
efforts are
только
showing that
соответствовать
integrating
государственным
trees tools
образовательным
can
стандартам, но и
work
улучшить качество обучения.
to
Мы
fit
предложили
to
реальные
international,
шаги
to
для педагогов
educational
и
standards.
родителей
We
по
have
внедрению этих методов
offered
без потери
specific steps
эффективности
for the
образовательных
implementing of
программ.
these methods
Наша
without
цель –
losing the efficiency
преобразование
of educational
образования.
programs. Our
Благодарим за
aim is
внимание.
to transform education. We thank you for your
Спасибо
attention.
большое. У нас сегодня
Thank
большие
you.
доклады, да, на
We
вопросы
have long
практически времени не
presentations
остается.
today,
Но
and
тем не менее,
of course, we don't have a lot of
вопросы в
time
чате.
to take
TRIZ
questions. But
педагог
anyway,
или
we have a
преподаватель
few
TRIZ? Есть
questions
ли
in the chat. TRIZ
принципиальная разница?
educator and a TRIZ teacher.
Или
Is there any
педагог, или
difference
преподаватель TRIZ?
between a TRIZ
Мне кажется,
educator and a
нужно
TRIZ teacher?
разграничивать, кому вы преподаете. Если вы занимаетесь с
If you
детьми, то вы,
teach
скорее всего, педагог для детей.
children,
Если вы обучаете
then you are
взрослых,
an
тогда вы
educator,
преподаватель, да?
but
И
you are a
здесь нужно
teacher. If
тоже
you teach
проводить какое-то
grown-ups, you are an
разграничение.
educator.
И
So this
еще
is
важное
what
также
we need to
замечание. Вы преподаете саму теорию
understand.
решения
You
изобретательских
teach
задач,
the TRIZ
либо вы
theory
преподаете
yourself,
свой
or
предмет,
you
свою
teach your
какую-то
own
область, используя
subject
технологии TRIZ.
using
Это
TRIZ
тоже
technologies.
такие
This is also very
важные,
important.
два важных
And this is
направления.
what
То
you
есть
need to
мы
understand. So these are
предлагаем
two
и
main
видим
areas. So
успешных
we think that
педагогов, которые преподают
there can
свои
be
предметы
successful
с
teachers
использованием
teaching their subject
инструментов и подходов
using
TRIZ.
TRIZ approaches and
Спасибо.
tools.
Еще такой вопрос.
Thank you.
Что такое искусственная система? Рожденный в
An
больнице
artificial
ребенок – это
system.
искусственная система?
So a kid
Этнос или государство
born
–
in a
это искусственная
hospital,
система? Может, нужно выделять
a
национальные
nation, or
целевые, а не
a
искусственные
state?
системы?
Is it an artificial system? And
Мне
how
кажется,
can
такой
we
сейчас большой вопрос.
implement? How
Переведем
can we
и отдадим
differentiate
время
from those
следующим
systems? This is
докладчикам.
Ну, у
quite
нас еще
a
пару
big
минут есть.
question, or possibly we won't have a lot of time.
Но
We
мы
don't have a lot
говорим
of time
тут
to
о
respond to
системе,
it in
созданной
detail. So
человеком,
we
но тут
are
еще,
speaking of
наверное,
a
этические моменты нужно
human-created
тоже
system.
учитывать.
There are some ethical
Мы подумаем, как ответить,
aspects,
как
of
правильно
course, to that.
сформулировать
We
ответ.
will think on how to
Да, здесь
formulate a good answer
много
to this question.
таких рекомендаций, да, по использованию нейросетей.
There are many recommendations
Ну,
on the use of neural
все
networks,
обратили внимание на
which
то,
we've
что
heard.
искусственный интеллект придумывает, да, какие-то ответы,
AI
немножко
sometimes
привирает,
can
скажем так.
invent
Вот. И, скорее
approaches,
всего,
answers,
это
sometimes provide false answers. And of course, we
одна из
believe that
важнейших
this is
проблем. Как
a very
верифицировать, да,
critical
как
issue on how to verify,
проверить ту
how to
информацию,
check the
которую мы
information
получаем в
we
режиме
receive
очень
in this
быстро, да, вот
very
это очень
quick
большая, как
based
это
mode.
сказать,
So this is a big challenge,
достоверная и
I
недостоверная
believe, to that. So
информация.
again,
Понятно.
having this false
Для всех
information and all that.
источников, конечно,
So
искать
again,
несколько
you need to
проверенных
work with the
источников.
origins, with sources, and
Конечно,
you need to
да,
have
да.
verified
Насколько
Тоже,
это
да,
authoritative
достаточно.
sources. So you need
Да.
to work
Это
with these
как-то
sources
проблема.
and use them to
Да.
check
Просто
it.
не
But still, it is a
востребованы этой
challenge.
проблемы, так как не
We
было
didn't have it. We
искусственного
used
интеллекта.
not to
Я
have it
думаю,
because we
что мы
didn't have
со
AI.
временем
Вы правильно
So
сказали,
we
даже
will be
касается
able to
нейросети.
change
Ну,
it,
да, да.
I believe, going
Марат,
forward.
есть какой-то
Neural
вопрос?
networks.
Да-да-да,
Marat,
есть.
any
Да.
questions?
Мгм.
Ну, прежде всего, большое спасибо за ваш доклад. Вы отлично просто подготовились и доложили. У меня рекомендация.
So I
То, что
have
вы
a
сделали,
recommendation.
вообще отлично, да, широкий
What
спектр
you've
вашей
done, it's
деятельности.
really good. So
Одно
pretty wide
замечание,
spectrum of
наверное,
your
одна
activity.
рекомендация.
Only one
Замечание, вот что,
notice,
в чем
one recommendation and
понимаете, да?
remark.
В конце
So what
вывода вы
is the
рассказывали
definition of
относительно
it?
того,
So
что
in the
стандарты
end, when
остаются,
you were
меняются
telling
только
about
подходы, которые
your
есть. моей точки
uh,
зрения, это локальный просто период времени, при котором стандарты
conclusions.
только
I guess
утверждались,
that
они еще
it's
не
only a local
вошли в свою
parameter,
стандартность, и
so it is not
стандартность
coming
только
in
через
it,
некоторое
it
время.
is
Они
stagnation,
выдвигают
because
стандарты,
standard from
должны
standard
появляться
is
новые.
different. And
Здесь
then in
другой
time,
подход.
it's
То
been
есть должно быть переход еще
it is
преобразования
becoming
стандартов.
old.
Отсюда
So that's
рекомендации
why
ко
we
многим
have
родителям,
to
которые
get some kind of a
как
special
возникают
approach to
дети,
the
которые
standard. So
обучают
that's why I have
детей,
this
все
remark
прекрасно,
and
замечательно.
recommendation. It is good
Хотелось
that
бы,
you are
знаете, в
teaching kids
следующий раз
and
вот
children,
широты
whatever,
ваших
but in the
деятельности посмотреть,
future,
вот эти
it
стандарты
would be
передвинуть,
great
чтобы они
to
тоже
see
поучаствовали, и
at
тогда
those
бы они
people
понимали,
who
осознавали,
create those
а какие
standards, so
следующие
that they
шаги
would
и
participate in it,
полномочия
so that
инструктивы
they
для
would
ваших государственных
understand what
школ,
kind
для
of
того, чтобы
standards,
уже
what
через
kind of
некоторое
a
время какие-то
duties
алгоритмы
and rights do they
выработаны для того,
have
чтобы
to
плавно
create some
потихоньку
kind of
переходить из
algorithm.
одного
So
стандарта в другой
in
стандарт,
the
и таким образом
bit by
действовать
bit, they
бесконечно в рамках его прикладного применения.
would
Спасибо.
go.
Марат,
Спасибо
звучит очень
большое.
красиво. Насколько применимо, не знаю.
Мы будем
Ну,
стараться думать в этом направлении, но все мы понимаем, что над-систему, да, поменять немножечко сложнее, чем...
Сложновато над-система, да?
Но
ну,
нам очень
идеальная
хорошо
система, да,
applied in the
идеальная
real
система сама себя,
life.
она
But
там
you
не
see,
меняет. Или доходит до
subsystem,
ситуации, где
it is
необходимость поменять над систему.
so
Кратко,
when it
если
is
у меня
coming
минутка, я
to
хотел бы там
the
несколько слов сказать.
necessity to go
Я
into
встречался, ну, в свое
subsystem, you
время там
see,
проводил первую олимпиаду
I
по
was
ТРИЗ в
meeting,
одной из московских
I
школ.
was
Вообще
actually holding Olympic
городов
Games on
этих
TRIZ
самых школ
between Moscow
участвовало из
schools.
разных
So
городов
several
мира
series,
приехало. И директор
different
этой
schools were
школы
participating in
рассказывал,
it.
что недавно
And director
приехала из
of that
Англии.
school
Что рассказывал?
told us that
У них
she's
цикл
been
в
to
Англии 12
England.
лет цикл. То есть
He's
сначала
been to
жесткие
England,
стандарты, вот такие
and
вот
they have
потихонечку,
12 years of
стандарты,
cycle.
они
So
устаревают,
pretty
там появляются
serious
новаторы,
standards.
которые так с
So then
премиальной
their standards
деятельностью
are getting
выходят.
old.
Потом
Some
через некоторое
novators
время
come,
идет
and then in some
расслабление,
future
конфликт уже
there is some
между
kind of
новым
a
и старым,
relaxation
а
of
потом
this
снова
conflict between
настигает такого
new
же
and
эксперимента,
old,
новые стандарты
and
раз,
then
и
new
вот у нас снова
standards.
появляется. И вот такими
They
импульсными
appear
движениями
once
они там
in a
двигаются. Не
while
знаю, насколько
every
это точно,
12 years.
ну, цикл 12-летний, не знаю.
So I don't know whether this cycle is
Марат
proper
Семенович,
of 12
спасибо вам
years, but
за
anyways,
пожелание
uh,
такое. Хочу только
yeah,
добавить,
thank you very
что
much,
в Республике Беларусь
Marat,
очень
for
хорошая
your
стала
wish, for your
школа,
desire.
да, педагогов,
And you
которые
see,
работают
in
с
our
дошкольниками.
republic
И
in
сейчас
Belarus,
Академия
we have pretty good
образования,
school
ну,
how
у
to
них уже
work
появилась идея
with teachers. And right
разработки курсов
now,
повышения
our
квалификации и
educators,
обучения
they have
учителей в начальной школе.
this
Поэтому мы над
idea
этим
how
работаем.
to
Я, в
Здорово.
свою очередь, я
teach
приложу все
the
силы, которые у меня есть к этому проекту. Если что-то получится, обязательно
teachers of
поделюсь.
Спасибо большое.
Да, выходите на
the
связь,
school. Thank you very
пообщаемся.
much. Yeah, please come by to the communication. We will talk. So
Спасибо.
yeah.